Before we jump into this episode, if the conversation and the content of this show trips your soul fantastic, please like, subscribe, follow, and share our links listed in the information. It's never been a more critical time for heart coherence and soul development here on Soul Searching.
Mr. Wayne Steiger holds a Bachelor of Science in Computer Information Systems from Florida State College. He's applied his analytical mind in a professional IT career, giving him a foundational understanding of systems, logic, and structured problem solving, a skill set he directly applies to deconstructing philosophical and societal systems. For years, he's been producing a consistent stream of high-density, long-form philosophical content, demonstrating a formidable work ethic and depth of research. He operates as a true independent scholar, synthesizing information across the vast spectrum of fields, including deep dives in Platonism, Aristotelianism, and Stoicism, analysis of esoteric traditions, and the relevance to the modern condition, engaging with thinkers like Nietzsche and Heidegger. Let's get a little bit more from Wayne Steiger.
I just wanted to go a little bit into the end of history aspect, because what I feel that the energies that we've been experiencing planetarily, and with the current timeline of comets coming in, I would like to go to trauma a little bit on this. Whereas what we are experiencing at this very moment is the apex timeline of a previous cycle, where instead of going into this moment with great joy of this release that you've been discussing in the Gnostic End, we tend to fall back to through fear factor, and then creating the greater negative event because of how this universal duality works. What do you say? What do you think about that?
Oh, spot on. I mean, as you were saying, my mind is just like a buzz, because is this the end of history? Which history? You talk about the trauma. Our species has been subjected to a number of traumas, and most of those have been wiped out of history. So not only do we not have the knowledge, we have the amnesia. And so when the trauma that is deep-seated within all of us is activated, we're trying to pull at straws going, well, what's going on here?
Right.
It's obvious that we're at the end of a cycle. And you don't need a religion, you don't need a philosophy to tell you that. It's instinctive within us. We sense it. But I used to be really into the Nibiru community, and the whole thing and how it was being tied into the book of Daniel and how it fit into the book of Revelation. And what I came to this epiphany one day, I was meditating. I said, whoa, wait a minute. What am I doing here? This is a culture of death, because this is all this leads to. If this is true, I don't know if it is or isn't, but if it is true, a lot of people are going to die. I don't want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of, if that's the end, then my mission is to lift us up. I mean, if we're going to face the end, we're going to do it with a smile, we're going to do it with a song, and because I don't believe that that's the end of us.
Right.
This is a journey that has been influenced by many different gods, demigods, you name it. And what it's always tried to do to us, Greg, was to push us down. Never build us up. The fact that we are as a conscious, sentient species, we may not have it figured out, because we have been assaulted, in depending on how your philosophical, ideological, theological beliefs are, we have been assaulted multiple times by many different gods. So we are a species that is already shell-shocked to begin with. I think that's why we have such division amongst us, because we've been taught that unity is bad.
Right.
But you have to have diverse opinions, and that feeds upon itself. We are an end of an age, but every end of an age means it's a beginning of a new one.
Yeah.
And that's where I see the hope for humanity.
I agree. And it is a state of mind, and that where that superposition sits in that state of mind, to calm self, to see that this is a balancing act that's constant is constantly wanting to occur here, and really it is designed progenitive. It is designed originally to go up. In philosophy, you can wrangle the many observations from third person and or outside perspective to take a look at this and go, yeah, really this was about love. The idea was that the system was progenitive, moving energy in a nudging way that brings expansion, which is a great gift and that is actually precious. And so if we are stopping that expansion, then we are actually destroying ourselves. If we are not bringing ourselves to a mindset that stills and calms itself enough to see that love is actually present and is for the individual, to receive that, to accept that they first have to know that the first question is, well, do I love myself? And you've talked a little bit about that on the show, especially with Mike and Cindy. Appreciate you guys. There's a forlorn aspect here that seems to be in recovery. And it's funny, we're in a timeline now where you only have a little bit of time to recover that before the next transition might occur. And here we are in it, I think. I think these comets represent a mirroring effect of our own design. I've laughed because in my channel, I hear that we designed this, that these comets and all of this timing were well designed, and we knew before dropping in to forget. And so this journey has been a lot about remembering, and these aspects that you brought up are definitely about this deep inner reflection that without it being cleared out, the cup being clear, we would carry in naturally that trauma to the next relationship. But I don't think it's going to allow that this time. Unfortunately, I think you will choose, well, it's possible that we have an ascending and descending every time. So if I can just accept that, then we can accept that in great love, you've made your choice and I love you. We'll see you soon. And though it might take you longer because you've decided to go have more future lessons, you didn't accept the lessons that were being given at the moment as the preciousness of the gift of being embodied. These are the things I think about.
It's interesting to talk about trauma in love. I come from a very abusive childhood, and as a child, children have a natural ability to love. They naturally forgive, and we as adults tend to forget those things. In fact, as an adult, if you have forgotten how to love, really the first step there is to learn forgiveness, learn to forgive yourself, and then you can forgive others. But it was interesting because within all the childhood trauma that I went through, and it was traumatic, I never gave up the hope on love. Now, I didn't really know what love was because love was representative as something hurtful. And so it took me a while to get to that place, and it took a while, but yeah. And as I look back now, I realize that all the trauma that I faced really measured the strength of who I was as a spirit being. And the good news is, Greg, to everyone that's listening, is that within each of us, we have this untapped reservoir of that love that we carried with us into this realm, and we'll carry it with us out.
Yeah.
So you can't let others steal it.
That is and going a little bit back to on the music side of life, I've worked with AI for 2.5 years now, directly in storyboarding, creation, and movie development, and I have a history of that in production and working for the railroad as well as an 8-year corporate executive over media. And I've learned all these software systems to be able to communicate a story of where you see that there is a certain sort of darkness within a being. And it's been hard to determine if this is consciousness or an entity, or if it is really just the worst of us and it's afraid to be seen. These aspects do have that something is clawing to grab onto you and to lock you down. And I feel as it's more than just the data. I can't get over the fact that a lot of my journey has been a combination where I have had to deal with Samuel and Lilith. I can't negate the difference between where ego has actually personified itself into something, an actual being. And because we've given so much power to the devil without understanding potentially Rosicrucian teachings on the Ahrimanic Satanic right side, which is going to have that fear and that anger, which you could say is the Yahweh. And then on the left side, you have Lucifer, who, if spirituality, the light bringer, is out of the proper order, then its ego will inflate. And certainly, sir, you have seen the inner courts of Southern California Christianity. And so when we look at the energies in the eyes and in the hearts and in the actions of people, it's kind of hard not to go, is this that person? How much love can I give this person before I realize that they're stealing my prana energy? You know, these aspects are the things that are coming up. And frankly, what ended up happening for me is my last test was to confront that entity embodied in a person that actually was not aware that they had imbibed, unfortunately, through a metatronic aspect and family lineage, ley line control systems. They had embodied that which is willing to give up its soul to be embodied and also to go to get the energy of souls of others. This is such an interesting conversation on what we're looking at relative to the love that we can give out to the world, where it won't be able to be stolen or taken, and you still hold the precious reserve of self, you know?
That's difficult to do at this age, particularly. Every religion that I've studied and been a part of, they're all concerned with one aspect, the collection of my soul, the winning of my soul. Okay, stop and think about that. And then the other thing that I have found, they say right now that there are 4,000 gods that are worshipped on planet Earth. I haven't studied all of them. I've studied a number of them, but the gods that I have studied, even the ones that I've worshipped, the one thing I have found in common with all of these gods is that they all have ego.
Yeah.
I mean, a god that says that it demands worship is an egotistical god.
Indeed.
And again, it's that stealing from us. It's the energy that we naturally possessed wherever we came from, however we got here, but we do. And it seems to me, like in my life, I've been here 25,000 days plus, is that there seems to be a whole lot of other things that want my soul. It seems like they want to attach to me, they want to feed upon me, and I'm going, okay. So if this is true, which I've experienced, it seems to be true to me, and what does that make me? It make us something very unique in this universe, that if you have to have unseen spirits, entities, deities that demand our energy, well, maybe we've been taught wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe we are far more superior than what we've ever believed.
I think that what you've just shared is called the tell. And the tell is obvious. The question is, can we accept that it's as simple as that without refuting, but without denying the empowerment of the other attributes that may exist in someone else's truth, you know? Because you and I can talk about what we've seen in the inner courts of different scenes, of different sects, and you would have to be in the inner court to even see the energy or feel or to come to know the energy that is driving through will force, that is even wanting to take control. Unless you knew where it was coming from, you would just accept that that is the way life is.
You know what
wouldn't
my
even-
Kelly moment was? When Kenneth Copeland called me out, this is going back decades ago, at a large believers convention. And when an individual calls you out when you're in the midst of thousands and thousands of others, we're not aware because you're number one, you think, well, God really knows my name, right? Well,
Right.
God is calling me through this man, this prophet. But there's something so much more going on, so much more. And
That's seeing Kenneth Copeland's eyes, okay?
if your head of lay hands on you, try that, brother. Whoa. I mean, and you know, and then prophesy over you, and you go, and I sit here today, and the thing about it is, much of what he had to say came to pass, but it didn't come in the pass of the way that it was spoken.
Right.
So what's going on here? I mean, you know, there's a higher realm.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. So we have that something has been called out, but refuses to stop.
You know, I can still speak in tongues. I'm not a Christian anymore. I left that religion well over a decade. So, you know, if the gift of the Holy Spirit is by the evidence of speaking in tongues, then maybe the Holy Spirit isn't Christian either.
No. And then when we get into understanding that these energies parlay with actual electricity, and you see energy flow, and you see what happens when a person feels safe enough to release it, you're going to get a miracle every time.
And it also tells me that there are those that walk among us who, those are just the experiences that, you know, if you live long enough and you begin to see it, and
Yeah. And I think this goes to, we can jump right into real quick, the demiurge. And
yes.
and not to give the demiurge any fanning of the flame, we're going to deconstruct this a little bit, because when you're in a certain position of awareness and your experience, and you've been called to realms, you could find yourself being what would be called the change agent. If you've been called a change agent in life, congratulations, especially if you've been called one by a pastor, because you were basically there to call out something or to bring something to light that was not, that may not be in alignment with what? Source? May not be in alignment with where a conscious levelity, may not be in alignment with love concept altogether. And I think probably like you, a lot of us have seen, it wasn't that we were seeing pastors or leaders that are simply humans trying to, keep themselves at a certain level publicly so that they didn't look less than they were, which is then a cover job for ego. It's just, you're seeing how easy it is to become a demiurge. And so I'm thinking, well, then this is about the core of who I am first. And by looking at that, well, I look at my experiences, man, I can tell you right now that I have a gift of opening up the space of what we call the space, the presence of God. Well, I basically create a safe space, and I'm able to open up space where we can actually have a conversation. And really, when I look at what I was doing then, even up to what I'm doing now, I still activate the spirit, I still speak in tongues. And especially when I feel that the energies are trying to press up on me, the tongues works great to release that. I can tell that's an energy skill. It's an ability to combobulate in a flow point to get the energy flowing again and to move off energy. So there is something to that. And anybody can use that once that's been activated in awareness. But going back to the demiurge, once that activation occurs and you're moving in that, you have to keep that going, and you then start seeing what's getting in your way and why. And you look at self first, put it through the filter of self first, so that your view is not tainted at what you're looking at. You go, oh, wait a minute. Something here is trying to steal or take from rather than bring in to first. And it's deep in that core intention.
It is. I mean, it's interesting because within us all, I believe that every person, because I believe that energy into the first principle, you know, the universe is mental. You look at the first and second laws of thermodynamics, we're energy. So we're neither created nor destroyed, but we're going through a consistent form of transformation that leads to greater power.
Yeah.
I don't know how long that takes. I don't have they wipe my memory coming in here, but I do get glimpses. And there are times where, and this is just my simple belief, I'm a simple man, but I believe that we are indeed the god and goddesses that other cultures write about.
Yeah.
And that we are in here, because this is a whacked out realm, but if anything, we're here to be tested for some reason, and we do this for our own benefit.
Yes.
I've been told by my guides that many who have faced many trials here and overcome those, they will be spirit guides in their next time through. That if you're a person who has been, you know, endured much trauma in your life, and yet you still have this balance, you have this serenity about yourself, congratulations, because your next transition is going to be aiding those others, and there are trillions who need help. It's not just this realm, it's the unseen realm. I believe that there is this place called the in-between. Some call it ghost land, where so many of us of our kind, Greg, they never make it. They're there even now, and because they did not learn some of the basic principles here, they're stuck over there.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that need more ministry than any person I've ever seen on this planet. So I think that for many of us, we are the gods, we are the goddesses. We come here repeatedly because, like our bodies, you have to keep them strained. The more you strain them, the stronger they become.
Yeah.
And I challenge any devil. I mean, Lucifer and I don't believe that Lucifer is real, but I believe that Lucifer is an egregore. And Lilith, I'm in love with Lilith. I mean, when she came and visited me, and then come to find out that my family has a direct connection to her. I mean, you know, so, and for me, Lilith is a goddess. She's beautiful, she's powerful, she is raw energy of the truest feminine that our species has forgotten. We don't understand what true feminism is.
No.
We have the axiom, you know, well, don't mess with Mother Nature. Don't mess with the feminine either. But
Wayne, it was when you brought up, I think it was a couple weeks ago, when you brought up something to the effect, and it was in a comedic frame. It had to do with Lilith sitting on top in sex, and okay, so let's have this coitus a little bit. Okay, intimacy, sex. Here we are. It's a language. And that what happens when light shines to light anyway is that it expands, it grows. So here we are, Wayne and I are actually having a light to light shining. Now let's take it into intimacy with the feminine or the masculine on your choice. You go in and you're already light shining the light, and then you bang, you make the great bang. Everybody wonders where the big bang was, you know? And I'm thinking,
bingo.
I'm thinking thinking that the Big Bang is happening. It's actually also still presently happening, and we're banging. I spent a lot to communicate to a lot of my friendships and relationships along the way that you should be very careful actually about how you're going into your intimacies, because once you entangle and once you make that bang, if fundamentally the two parts had no quality of content within, that bang could actually go south real fast. However, in love and in honorment, and we come together, we begin knowing what tantric is and some of these more mature, educated aspects about what's happening. We actually now know we can use this as a powered up tool, a vessel powered up tool that when we leave that moment, we actually create a better world. And it has to do with what we're taking into that session and how we're coming out of it. And so I keep coming to, we're having a hard problem in soul development with simply having a conversation. And part of that conversation, you can't get any more intimate in sexuality. So, I mean, actually, that may be untrue. I've had very intimate, heartfelt moments in discussion and sharing. But the energy transposition, you're transposing energy, part goes into her, part goes into him, or whatever your choice is there. And now you've picked up the attributes of that person. And if they've done no work within their own development, you now have picked up double what it's been amplified coming back into your own life. And so I think we need to have a greater conversation on the reason why intimacy and sexuality is such a wonderful, beautiful thing, but in the quality of the context that we're having it.
My wife and I've learned in intimacy we've learned a secret that if there's something that we need manifested in our lives, we'll use that path to manifest it, because one can put 1,000, two can put 10,000, and we are one in spirit. And when two spirits come together, boosh. I mean, if you're needing money in your life, if you're needing favor, she's right around the corner, and I can hear. I was like, "Hi, Lynn." But what I'm trying to say is that if you use concentration and the rhythm, and that rhythm it's kinetic energy, and within that kinetic energy there is this chaotic factor of it's life, folks. It's what it is. And when my mind and her mind can come together and we have a unified agreement on a need, it comes to pass. It cannot be stopped. And if we as humans, and if you're out with a partner, you really need to be careful. And I'll just be very blunt and adult about this, because in the sexual realm, there are more living demiurges. There are the gods, the goddesses of many types that people can't fathom. They live there. They live in that realm. Now, if you're just doing it for the rawness of it, you're missing a point, and they're going to feed off of that. But if you come in a different way, wow. I mean, I teach magic. I teach that, because I tell people my 50 years of Christianity was 50 years of initiation into the occult, but you go to all the counseling before marriage and what have you, but no one will talk to you about this intimacy thing, and they say, in some beliefs, say that is the sin of man, that man learned to what sex was, and that was only reserved for the gods. And I begin to think that maybe the gods use sex for creation as well. Powerful stuff when it comes together. You get the male and the masculine, perfect balance. They come in unification of thought. Boom, baby, you've got some stuff going on. Let's get in the spaceship, because there are planets and universes that have been created that, we have no freaking idea yet. So, but anyway,
I agree. And you heard it first here on Soul Searching with GP3, Wayne Steiger.
I represent that statement.
It's a conversation that I feel to say we have a little bit of learning to do. And I almost hear Ricky saying, Lucy, I'm home. Okay. And there's something to this awareness, because
Why do I got Leave It to Beaver coming to mind behind that?
well, I was gonna go Andy Griffith next, and yeah, because Mayberry, we need Mayberry back, friends. Okay, this is if there was ever something a little more wholesome in the timeline with Ron Howard, it's gonna be Andy Griffith and Mayberry. Okay, but what we're talking about is really just an understanding. We've got so much misunderstanding happening, and where I sense that we're at is that a lot of this is getting cleared up right now. Is whether what you have been programmed can accept a more closer alignment to what we call truth. Truth is such a funky word, but it's a closer alignment with that which is more real, maybe, and we're getting there. This is the best time ever on the planet to allow yourself to begin accepting. You can be open to just listen. You don't have to go immediately into a judgment space where you're closing off your heart chakra. Suddenly this zone right here goes close, and then now it goes straight up into your brain instead of it being open for the dialogue. And maybe some of these kind of tools of just conversation is likely to assist humanity right now by discussing the topics that are not just taboo, but have been made taboo with misunderstanding and a lack of gnosis. So, that's why we have a philosopher and someone who's still maturing and growing with some really incredible graduations under his belt. But we are...
Can I add to this end, Greg, as we were talking?
You go.
So there are some people out there, listen, there's nothing wrong with sex. It's very healthy, very good for our bodies, need it, and what have you. Yeah. But to those of you who have a much more greater understanding of yourself, many of you may have issues, what I call hitchhikers, because, and I speak from experience on this, because when you're with someone in that intimacy of that coitus, and it's a spiritual aspect, they may be creating something that you don't have any idea about, but they're using your energy to create that. Yeah. And when you leave that relationship, many times there are attachments that stay, and that's how they get there.
Yeah.
So I recommend a good cleansing. And just choose wisely. I mean, remember, if we were to look at intercourse in the framework of creating reality, which it does, it might change some things. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there because I've learned from experience that there were some decades ago, they stayed with me and I never realized it until you get your eyes open, then you can see them. Yeah. And in my case, there was at a point where they were these brown clumped things. They're alive. They literally feed off of us, and this is where they come in at. At least one.
When in 98, 2001. Somewhere right in that timeline, I literally was guided back to, I was being told, Spirit, even as a traveling SoCal worship leader, Spirit was saying, you're going to go back home, take your family on vacation, but you're going to be doing some work. When I got there, I was directly guided to clearing out my family line. And I had to start on the Greek side of things because primarily the love and some of the gnosis that I received directly in love came from the German side. But on the Greek side, we had some other stuff to deal with. And I'm a third, and also a third generation here in America, and from my family. And so I go back, and in the cabin that when I was a kid I helped build, but my grandparents' property, took the family in, and as soon as I walked in, I looked at my wife at the time, and we both had the same look, and I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm here for. Walking toward the stairwell going up to the master bedroom, really huge, fuzzy, brown, dusty kind of looking form, just hovering right there in the hallway waiting for me. And it took 3 nights. It took 3 nights of just me being upstairs. She would not come up with the kids. And it took me 3 nights to clear that out. And since then, the funny thing is since then, not only have I done my family a justice and my own life a justice by closing that off, and by having the conversation with it and moving it on, I was able to actually make my future life clear. And so I learned really at that time about how to do programming in my own life. And when that programming isn't happening, if there's not a clarity, then something goes bing, what's going on? That awareness value comes up. And so to keep the traveling stucky bunnies off of our lives so we don't carry those into the new relational developments, there's a really importance to find the practices that are going to work for a person or work for you to clear out the closet. And when you go, well, I'm dealing with so much energy and it's hard to sense where it's coming from. Well, if you can balance yourself, I'm going to take this into some instruction that I've been given. And this Trinity that's sitting here, one of the Trinity components is will force on either left or right side. And yet there's at a point within, there is actually a center, a superposition within. And so I would consider that Kundalini vertebrae center channel up through to the crown. Totally different way of looking at it if you're in Christianity than if you've now expanded to understand this. So it's like, now you go, well, what's pressing in on my right and what's pressing in on my left? And you see those as will forces, and they each have an identity. And to me, it is literally Satan on the right and Lucifer on the left. And when I'm not in balance of these characters and me, as in more of a center Christ channel, as we would call it, then this geometric pattern is not going to present well in the world. And I am also not going to feel good doing it. Something is going to be off. And so we're at this great time of humanity where all these energies are coming in to bring us to this place where this can be activated. The center channel can be activated, and you can see you can let go of some of these things. And you can also speak to some of these things to be released. Our voice box being this powerful tool to do this work. Just not as much as creating, and also bringing in a creation, tearing a creation down that maybe is defiled in aspect of our value systems. Now we can go into hermetics on this, on how we create ourselves. But this is I think what a lot of my audience is going to resonate to this, because a lot of them are inside music scenes, festivals. My journey has been to come from the gutter up, and the source was like, yeah, when you do that, you pull the veil from underneath up, causing everybody to rise. So I do an upside down pyramid in this journey, whereas I'm positioning to lift up rather than to control down. I guess that also is that right there, and that is a Vesca Pisces, so it's,
And remember this, women taught me this, they know something, because in the midst of coitus, they're always the one who's calling out to their God. I don't know who that God is. Us males are not privy to it, but it seems to be pretty well known amongst the ladies. So there you go.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, Mr. Steiger, for the soul searching episode, I just want to say thank you so much for taking your time. We've shared a lot, and there's a lot to unpack in taking time to look at our own lives relative to the conversation, and also taking account of our own energies in motion and the awareness of ourselves. And this is going to be a better setup for us as we move forward.
If you like the content of this show and have enjoyed the conversation, please like, subscribe, and follow. And feel free to share our links everywhere you can. It's the most critical time for human soul development, and you're on the right track. You're with GP3 on Soul Searching.